Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanyam Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Svapadantikam नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 19, The Killing of the Demon Hiryanaksa. So we are at text 30. So the demon, by one slap of the Supreme Lord, he was killed on the spot, but his luster remained. And Brahmaji, he began to glorify the demon for achieving such an amazing death right in Lord and by the transcendental touch of the Supreme Lord. And we have seen that Putana was also, how Putana's body was glorified in spite of being a very ghastly personality, but it was touched by the Supreme Lord. And at the quitting of the body, they had direct darshan of the Supreme Lord. So now we come to text 30. Deva Urchuhu Namo Namaste Khila Yajñatantave Sthitau Gruhita Malasattva-murtaye Drishtya Hatoyam Jagadamurundasas Tvatpada Bhaktya Vayamisha Nivritah. Translation.
The demigods address the Lord. All obeisances unto you. You are the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and you have assumed the form of a boar in pure goodness for the purpose of maintaining the world. Fortunately for us, this demon, who was a torment to the worlds, has been slain by you, and we too, O Lord, are now at ease in devotion to your lotus feet. Purport. The material world consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. But the spiritual world is pure goodness. It is said here that the form of the Lord is pure goodness, which means that it is not material. In the material world, there is no pure goodness. In the Bhagavatam, the stage of pure goodness is called Sattvam Vishuddham. Vishuddham means pure. In pure goodness, there is no contamination by the two inferior qualities, namely passion and ignorance. The form of the boar, therefore, in which the Lord appeared, is nothing of the material world. There are many other forms of the Lord, but none of them belong to the material qualities. Such forms are non different from the Vishnu form, and Vishnu is the enjoyer of all sacrifices. The sacrifices which are recommended in the Vedas are meant to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In ignorance only, people try to satisfy many other agents, but the real purpose of life is to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu. All sacrifices are meant to please the Supreme Lord. Living entities who know this perfectly well are called demigods, godly or almost God. Since the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, it is his duty to serve the Lord and please him. The demigods are all attached to the personality of Godhead, and for their pleasure, the demon, who was a source of trouble to the world, was killed. Purified life is meant to please the Lord, and all sacrifices performed in purified life are called Krishna consciousness. This Krishna consciousness is developed by devotional service as clearly mentioned here. Hare Krishna.
The demigods, after prayers of Lord Brahma, the demigods began to pray, Namo Namaste Akhila Yajna Tantave. So Akhila Yajna Tantave is the enjoyer of all the sacrifices, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So he is the Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. So this is, here the demigods are calling him Akhila Yajna Tantave. Sthitau Gruhita Amala Sattva Murtaye. And is the form of the Lord who is completely in the Vishuddha Sattvam or the transcendental nature. Now, because you have killed this demon, we are at ease in performance of devotional service at your lotus feet. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada first explains the word Amala Tattva, Amala Sattva Murtaye. That the material world is made up of three modes of material nature. Right, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And therefore, it is called as Daiviyesha Gunamayi. Why Gunamayi? There are three modes of material nature, and therefore Maya, the material world, is Gunamayi Maya. But in the spiritual world, the Maya becomes Yoga Maya, and which is of Vishuddha Sattvam, Sattvam Vishuddham, or Amala Sattva Murtaye. So there is uncontaminated goodness. There is no tinge of passion or ignorance in that mode of goodness. And when the form of the Lord, when the Lord appears in any form in the material world, he's always in that Amala Sattva Murtaye. And this is very important for Varahadev form to understand, because many times people think, oh, Varahadev. So they think Varahadev means, some whatever they have seen, the pig in the gutter, and they think, oh, I have seen the pig in the gutter, and this is the Varahadev. And they feel little uneasy about Varahadev's form. So that is not the case. So here there is no contamination of mode of passion or ignorance, and this is confirmed by Brahmaji and all the sages and all the demigods. So the form of the Lord cannot be compared to anything in the material world. Right. Sometimes something may appear similar, but it may be completely different. Just like somebody may vomit on the floor, and from a distance, or some other example is like somebody has eaten too much of a rabdi, and because he has eaten too much of a rabdi, he has very severe dysentery, and he is suffering from that dysentery for 1 full week. Just imagine, day and night he's passing, the 10 times he's going to the toilet and clearing like that. So as soon as next month somebody calls him for prasad and he says that I am preparing rabdi for you, what he will remember? He will say, hey, rabdi, no. Because he will remember something else. Or so this is how to compare anything of the material world to the spiritual form of the Lord. So Lord Varāha is as transcendental, as pure, as Vishuddha Sattvam, or demigods are calling, as Amala Sattva Murtaye, as form of the Lord Ram, Narasimha, or Krishna. Because they are non-different. There is no material contamination. He is the Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasa. Another point Srila Prabhupada explained, that means he is the master of all the sacrifices. So the yajna should be offered to the Supreme Lord, yajñarthat karmanonyatra, and that Supreme Lord is directly present in front of the demigods, and demigods are very attached to the Supreme. Most of them, they are attached to enjoyment also, but they are very attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, time to time, the Lord will appear, and he will make the path of the demigods very nishkantaka. And this is how Prabhupada says the purified life is mean to please the Supreme Lord. And thus all sacrifices performed in purified life, they are called as Krishna consciousness, as these demigods are mentioning here. Text 31. Maitreya uvacha evam hiranyaksham asayya vikramam sasadayitva haridadishukaraha Jagamalonkam swamakhanditotsavam samidita pushkara vishtaradivi. Translation.
Translation. Sri Maitreya continued, after thus killing the most formidable demon Hiryanaksa, the Supreme Lord Hari, the origin of the boar species, returned to his own abode, where there is always an uninterrupted festival. The Lord was praised by all the demigods headed by Brahma. Purport: the Lord is spoken of herewith as the origin of the boar species. As stated in the Vedanta Sutra 1.1.2, the absolute truth is the origin of everything. Therefore, it is to be understood that all 84 lakh species of bodily forms originate from the Lord, who is always Adi, or the beginning. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna addresses the Lord as Adayam, or the original. Similarly, in the Brahma Samhita, the Lord is addressed as Adi Purusham, the original person. Indeed, in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, the Lord himself declares Mataha Sarvam Pravartate. From me, everything proceeds. In this situation, the Lord assumed the shape of a boar to kill the demon Hiryanaksa and pick up the earth from the Garbha ocean. Thus, he became Adi Shukara, the original boar. In the material world, a boar or pig is considered most abominable, but the Adi Shukra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was not treated as an ordinary boar. Even Lord Brahma and the other demigods praise the Lord's form as a boar. The verse confirms the statement in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears as he is from his transcendental abode for the sake of killing the miscreants and saving the devotees. By killing the demon Hiryanaksa, he fulfilled his promise to kill the demons and always protect the demigods headed by Brahma. The statement that the Lord returned to his own abode indicates that he has his own particular transcendental residence. Since he is full of all energies, he is all pervasive in spite of his residing in Goloka Vrindavan, just as the sun, although situated in a particular place within the universe, is present by its sunshine throughout the universe. Although the Lord has his particular abode in which to reside, he is all pervasive. The impersonalists accept one aspect of the Lord's features, the all-pervasive aspect, but they cannot understand his localized situation in his transcendental abode, where he always engages in fully transcendental pastimes. Especially mentioned in this verse is the word Akhanda Utsavam. Utsava means pleasure. Whenever some function takes place to express happiness, it is called Utsava. Utsava, the expression of complete happiness, is always present in the Vaikuṇṭha Lokas, the abode of the Lord, who is worshipable even by demigods like Brahma, to say nothing of other, less important entities such as human beings. The Lord descends from his abode to this world, and therefore he is called Avtara, which means one who descends. Sometimes Avtara is understood to refer to an incarnation who assumes a material form of flesh and bone, but actually Avtara refers to one who descends from higher regions. The Lord's abode is situated far above this material sky, and he descends from that higher position. Thus, he is called Avtara. Hare Krishna.
Maitreya Uvacha. Evam Hiryanaksa Asayya Vikramam. Asayya Vikramam means after killing very, very powerful Hiryanaksa. So Asayya Vikramam, he was very powerful, but his Vikrama had become Asayya, is intolerable, which was Dushkritina. Sasaditva Harir Adisukarah. Jagamalokam Sam Akhanditam Utsavam Samaditaha Pushkara Vrishtaraditi. Very, very beautiful verse. Maitreya continued. After thus killing the most formidable demon Hiranyaksha, the Supreme Lord returned back home, back to Godhead. Is Vaikuṇṭha Loka, where there is always uninterrupted festival, Akhandita Utsavam. Right. The Lord was praised by all the demigods, headed by Brahmaji. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the Lord is the origin of everything. Janmadiyasya yataha. He is origin of everything. Aham bija pradapita, or mattah sarvam pravartate, Bhagavad Gita. So, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam both describes the Lord is origin of everything. And here, the Lord is the origin of the boar species, the species as such. And not only that, all 84 lakh species of bodily forms originate from the Supreme Lord, and therefore he is called as Bhagavan Adisukaraha. Right. The Lord says very clearly, Aham Bija Pradapita in Bhagavad Gita. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that the Lord assumes the form of a boar to kill the demon Hiryanaksa, and as soon as the fight is over, the Adi Sukaraha, he goes back home, back to Godhead. But this Adi Sukaraha should not be misunderstood with the ordinary boar in the material world, which is very most abominable condition that may live in. Right. And the same with other avatar also. Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar. Kurma avatar is not like the tortoise that we see in the zoo, or Matsya avatar is not like the fish we see in the pond or aquarium. No, the Matsya avatar is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kurma avatar, Varaha avatar, Adi Sukaraha, they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although there may be some resemblance somewhere here and there, but we should not extrapolate the contamination of Sukara to Bhagavan Adi Sukaraha. Right. Further, Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord, after performing his activity of killing of the Hiranyaksha, he goes to the Vaikuṇṭha Loka. So it is not that he has taken the form, some Brahman has taken a form, the formless has become form now, and after performing the activities, the form is merged into formless. No. Avatar means all the avatars, they are eternally residing in the Vaikuṇṭha planets. And it's such a wonderful news, actually, this is. So many people at one time, they were told me this, that they felt so happy that Prabhuji, now we are so happy to see Lord Ram exists now also. In the Saket Dham, which is Saket is a Vaikuṇṭha in the spiritual world, there is a destination called as Saket Vaikuṇṭha, where Lord Ram is residing along with Rama Darbar. Mother Sita is there. Bharaji, Shatrughna, Hanumanji. No, Hanumanji is here. Kim Purush Loka. Hanumanji will go after some time. But all these personalities are eternal, the contamination of the material world. So similarly, Bhagavan Adi Sukaraha, he went back home, back to God also. And similarly, there is a abode of Narasimhadev, there is a abode of Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, Varaha Avatar, Narasimha Avatar. And then there is a abode of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Avatari. And that abode is called as Golok Vrindavan. So although the Lord is situated in the abode, he still is all pervasive, but still in one place. And what that place? So Prabhupada says, many times when the impersonalists accept the form's all pervasiveness, they are unable to understand that he is localized as well. So here, Srila Prabhupada is not describing about localized Paramatma. He is describing here as the localized personality in the spiritual world, where there is a constantly festival going on, Akhandita Utsavam. So Prabhupada says Utsava means, what is Utsava? There is a function to express one's happiness. That is Utsava. And our Utsava comes and we celebrate for some time, and Utsava is Khandita. But in the Vaikuṇṭha, there is Akhandita Utsavam. See, the material world, there is a Kuntita Jagat, and sometime we may have Utsava. Vaikuṇṭha, there is no Kunthata there, and Utsava is Akhandita Utsavam. And where the Lord returned back to Vaikuṇṭha to participate in the Akhandita Utsavam. That means there are continuous activities going on. The personality of Godhead resides there. He has a form. Devotees, they have a form. So there is a Bhakta, Bhakti, and Bhagavan. So Bhagavan exists separately. Bhakta exists separately. Their interaction exists separately. Bhakti, and which is Akhandita Utsavam. Right? Bhagavad Gita is confirmed this, that Sarve Vayamata Param Bhavishyami, So Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Lord describes this. And the Lord is called as Avatar. So sometimes the avatar also may mean that somebody powerful is assuming the material form of flesh and bone. And this is specifically true for Shaktyavesha avatar. Right? So Shaktyavesha avatar, like Parashuramji is considered Shaktyavesha avatar. And there are many personalities who are considered as Shaktyavesha avatar, who will take the material form. But the avatar, to the word, to the meaning, it means that one who descends from the top. He was already existing on the 100th floor, and now he has come to 50th floor. Right. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is always existing in the Vaikuṇṭha planet, different Vaikunthas, and then he has come to the material world or the Martya Jagat for the performance of his activities. So this is the meaning of the word avatar. Text 32. Maya yathanuktam avadatim te hare kritaavatarasya sumitra cheshtitam yatha hiranyaksha udar vikramo mahamrude kridanvata nirakritah. Translation.
Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, I have explained to you the personality of Godhead's coming down as a first Boar incarnation and killing in great fight a demon of unprecedented prowess, as if he were just a plaything. This has been narrated by me as I heard it from my predecessor spiritual master. Purport. Here the sage Maitreya admits that he explained the incident of the killing of Hiryanaksa by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a straight narration. He did not manufacture anything or add interpretation, but explained whatever he had heard from his spiritual master. Thus, he accepted as bona fide the system of parampara, or receiving the transcendental message in disciplic succession. Unless received by this bona fide process of hearing from spiritual master, the statement of an acharya or preceptor cannot be valid. It is also stated here that although the demon Hiranyaksha was unlimited in prowess, he was just like a doll for the Lord. A child breaks so many dolls without real endeavor. Similarly, although a demon may be very powerful and extraordinary in the eyes of an ordinary man in the material world, to the Lord, killing such a demon is no difficulty. He can kill millions of demons as simply as a child plays with dolls and breaks them.
Maitreya continued. My dear Vidura, this is how I have explained to you the Adi Sukaraha, Bhagavan Adi Sukaraha, coming down as avatar and killing Hiranyaksha, who is Udar Vikrama, unlimited prowess, very extensively powerful Hiranyaksha. But he just killed him just like the child breaks the doll effortlessly. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that this is the straight narration from Maitreya Muni. And he says, I am explaining this to you as I have heard from my spiritual master. So Maitreya Muni is not manufacturing something for some sensation, right? He's not after some content creation that he's manufacturing something of his own. No, he's just following. And Prabhupada says, unless one receives this knowledge submissively from one spiritual master and repeats as it is, this knowledge cannot be considered valid. So there is scope for application, but the interpretation cannot go beyond the explanations of the previous acharyas. This is very important. Right. Somebody may think that, Prabhuji, if I simply follow parampara, will I not become faceless? No, you will not become faceless because the knowledge has to be applied very specifically in one's, in one's life, in the life of other devotees and other things. But that doesn't mean that we change the knowledge. One has to hear from the bona fide spiritual master and repeat the knowledge. And what is the one's personal contribution in this? One has to repeat the knowledge so that the knowledge becomes relevant to given time, place, and circumstance. Right. So this is one's contribution, just making relevant with TPC. What is TPC? Time, place, and circumstances. Okay, so one has to make this relevant TPC. Further, Srila Prabhupada says, although the demons may become extremely powerful, but in front of the Lord, they are just like the small, the glass dolls. Like the child will play with the dolls, hit the doll, and the doll will be broken. Similarly, although he is Udara Vikrama, another word is Asayya Vikrama, Hiranyaksha, that he was digging the earth so much that the earth literally lost the balance and fell in the Garbhodaka ocean. And modern days demons have no question of having that kind of prowess. But for the Supreme Lord, killing such a demon is just like how effortlessly the child is breaking the doll. Prabhupada says, without any real endeavors. Text 33. Suta Uvacha. Now we are in the concluding part of this section. Iti Kausharam Ashrutya Bhagavat Katham Kshattanandam Param Lebhe Mahabhagavato Dvija. Translation.
Sri Sutta Goswami continued, My dear Brahma, Shakta, Vidura,
My dear
the great devotee of
Brahmana.
the Lord. My dear Brahmana, Shakta, Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Koshavrava, Maitreya, and he was very pleased. Purport: if anyone wants to derive transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, he must hear from the authoritative source, as explained here. Maitreya heard the narration from his bona fide spiritual master, and Vidura also heard from Maitreya. One becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master. And one who does not accept a bona fide spiritual master cannot be an authority. This is clearly explained here. If one wants to have transcendental pleasure, he must find a person with authority. It is also stated in in the Bhagavatam that simply by hearing from the authoritative source with the ear and the heart, one can relish the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible. Sanatana Goswami, therefore, has especially warned that one should not hear anything about the personality of the Lord from the lips of a non-devotee. Non-devotees are considered to be like serpents. As milk is poisoned by a serpent's touch, so, although the narration of the pastimes of the Lord is as pure as milk, when administered by serpent-like non-devotees, it becomes poisonous. Not only does it have no effect in transcendental pleasure, but it is dangerous also. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has warned that no description of the pastimes of the Lord should be heard from the Mayavada or impersonalist school. He has clearly said, Mayavadi Bhashya Sunile Haya Sarva Nasha. If anyone hears the Mayavadi's interpretation of the pastimes of the Lord, or their interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, or any other Vedic literature, then he is doomed. Once one is associated with impersonalists, he can never understand the personal feature of the Lord and his transcendental pastimes. Suta Goswami was speaking to the sages held by Shaunaka, and therefore he addressed them in this verse as Dvija, twice born. The sages assembled in Naimisharanya hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from Suta Goswami were all Brahmanas. But to acquire the qualification of a Brahmana is not everything. Merely to be twice born is not perfect. Perfection is attained when one hears the pastimes and activities of the Lord from a bona fide source. Hare Krishna.
Suta Uvacha. So now Suta Goswami said, Iti Kausharava Vakyatam. This is how the Kausharava, the Maitreya, the son of Kausharu, he was speaking the Katha. To whom? Kshatta, to Vidura. O Dvijas, O Brahmanas. So Suta Goswami addressing to Shaunaka Rishi. O Brahmanas, thus Kshatta attained extreme happiness, great Paramananda by hearing this wonderful Bhagavad Katha from Kausharava. So now this is not between Suta and Shaunaka Rishi Samvad. Suta Goswami said, my dear Brahmanas, O Dvijas, Kshatta, the great devotee of the Lord, his Mahabhagavat himself, achieved the great transcendental bliss by hearing the narrations of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of sage Kausharava, who is Maitreya. And thus he was very, very pleased. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, if anyone wants to derive the transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, they must be heard from the authoritative source. This is very important, right? Before Srila Prabhupada going to America, there were 800 plus Bhagavad Gitas in America and hardly any devotees. But when the most authentic version, Bhagavad Gita as it is, was presented, there were hundreds and thousands of people became inclined towards devotional service and started practicing devotional service. This is the effect of presenting the knowledge as it is, which is coming in bona fide disciplic succession. Prabhupada says, simply by repeating one's spiritual master, one becomes authority. So there is a very beautiful pastime here. One day, Prabhupada was giving a lecture on 12 Mahajan, Swayambhu Narada Shambhu, Kumara Kapilo Manu, Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Badir Vayasakir Vayam. And one disciple stood up and Prabhupada said, Prabhupada, you are the 13th Mahajan. And Prabhupada told the disciple, if I am 13th Mahajan, you are 14th Mahajan. So, very deep pastime. What this means is, Prabhupada writes here, one becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master, and one does not accept a spiritual master can never become an authority. By following a Mahajana, a person becomes himself a Mahajan, right? So this is the qualification. This is the qualification is to follow in the disciplic succession, right? And that will nourish one's heart and one's ears and these pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, this pastime should not be heard from a Vaishnava. And especially Sanatana Goswami warns against this. Avaishnavo mukhadgiranam udam harikathamritam. So he says that, just like the milk touched by the serpent should never be taken. Why? Because the extra element of poison is added to the milk. Similarly, although the Harikatha is pure, but Harikatha will be added with extra element of Jnanavad, Karmavad or Mayavad and making it extremely dangerous. So instead of nourishing, that milk will become the cause of one's death. And similarly, hearing from a Vaishnava and especially from Mayavadi is very, very dangerous. And Mahaprabhu very strictly warns his devotees, Mayavada Bhashya Shunile Haya Sarvanash. If one hears the Mayavadi interpretation of the pastimes of the Lord, he will be never able to understand the real pastimes and he will be completely contaminated with Mayavad philosophy. Suta Goswami was speaking to the Shaunakadi Rishi and he's referring them as Dvijaha. And all these personalities were great Brahmanas who had assembled there. But Prabhupada says, merely Brahmana is not sufficient because the personalities, the activities whose narration they were hearing, Vidura, he himself was not a Brahmana, but he was a Mahabhagavata. So perfection is achieved by hearing the pastimes of the Lord and activities of the Lord from the bona fide source. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhupada.
you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dharpanam. Prabhuji, can you repeat that shloka which Sanatana Goswami said that we should not hear from a Vaishnava?
Yeah, I will exactly get it tomorrow.
Okay,
Second
thank
time,
you. No problem.